Starting. And we are live.
Okay, I think David Holmes is still going to join us. Outside of that, I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody else. Carolyn, if you know offhand, or Sally. I think just David.
Yeah, I don't know who all responded.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought Stuart was going to be here today. I don't know if he.
Okay. We'll slow
I think
roll ourselves.
the mayor had responded that he was going to be here.
He's here.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, he's under the co-host. There's David. Well, we'll go ahead and maybe we'll get the meeting started and then give the mayor a second to pop back in. Maybe we can do the approval of the meeting minutes and stuff. So I think the way Linda does it is, so we'll call to order the Prospect Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for the April 12th meeting, and I'm filling in for Linda. And so to start, the March 10th minutes that Linda had sent out, did anyone have any additions or changes that they wanted to see in there?
They looked fine to me.
Perfect. Hi, Stuart. How are you?
Hey, doing good.
I'm filling in for Linda. She had a family emergency, so I've got her notes and stuff. So just to let you know, Linda won't be here today.
Right.
So if we could get a motion to approve the March 10th meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Perfect. So and we got a second there from Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sounds great. Minutes approved for the March 10th meeting. The next item on there, and I think I saw the mayor step out on the phone, I think, Ron. So there is some mayor updates to give. So maybe we'll give him just a second. One of the parks things while we wait for him to get back. Did everybody receive the email about the garlic mustard?
Yes.
For the parks, the pictures, and kind of if you've got anybody who can go out there. I just wanted to mention that in case anybody's watching these and is interested, that's something you can contact anybody in the parks, Linda, or the city, and ask, and we're happy to help. And if you guys do any cleanup, to send Linda those pictures so that she can brag about you all in doing those things. So
yeah,
I put some over the weekend, but
yeah,
I didn't take any pictures.
Well, and let her know, you know, what areas you did, and that way she can fill in for the stragglers like myself to head out there and get some areas that haven't been done. All right, sir, Mayor Evans, welcome back. You are first on the agenda for an update, if you are ready for that. And Ron, if you don't, I'm not sure if you take him off mute or if he's got.
That happened. There we go. Big thing in my life the last couple of days is that the auditors for us have been very slow. And we've been checking with them, but anyway, I got a call from one of them just a few days ago. And what we had already decided we weren't going to use them anymore because they're so slow. Well, that word somehow had gotten around, and this guy from Stevens Lawson called me, and he said, you might want to have your new company pick up this audit and finish it. Holy crap. So I called the senior partner at that auditing company, a guy I've known for years, knew his father, and he explained to me two things. He said that they had been hard hit with COVID, and also that he had sold the company to his employees, and from what I could tell, it's not working out well. So as of today, we have a new auditor. They were in touch with Laura today. Going to get started right away. They understand the urgency, so that problem solved. But I've never heard of such a thing. Jeffersontown has used the same auditor that I'm talking about for 7 or 8 years. I was talking with them this morning, and they have the same problem. So this is always interesting. You never know what's going to happen. But this has nothing to do with parks. It's just, well, indirectly, I don't know why, maybe it does. I don't know what else to update you about. The situation with LDG, the Affordable Housing Company, is the same. They're slow on both fronts. We had intervened in the lawsuit they brought back in 2017, and we got a favorable opinion from the judge, I guess about 2 weeks ago, denying their assertions that there was no evidence on which the Metro Council had based its rejection of their plan. What we can't understand is why they haven't refiled. They were entitled to do that at least a year and a half ago. They haven't done it. So fine with me, but that's a puzzlement. The one up the road, up 42 near Oldham County, the developer's got some problems up there too. One is that the folks that live around there have lawyered up and brought a lawsuit, and they've got a very good lawyer, I know him, and he alleges in his amended complaint that the rezoning for apartments back in 1973 was defective because it was never done with by an ordinance, and they only had one reading, and can't do that. Everybody knows that. So they don't have their zoning. Now, the bad news is they can always go and refile for rezoning, and goes to the Metro Planning Commission, which probably going to rubber stamp it, and goes to Metro Council, and those people have changed some new ones, and that's, who knows. So it's all stalled right now, but down the road, it's an unknown. Repaving is going on some streets here. We're going to start putting the new budget together next week. Well, we've already started, but we're going to have another budget preliminary meeting next week. And I am going to do a lot more paving, maybe even this year. Some of the streets that were rated 3, which is pretty low, didn't get repaved, and I think they should have. So maybe we'll definitely do them next year, but I think we may even be doing those streets this year. That's enough. Questions, I'll be glad to try.
Anybody have any questions? All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. All right, for the parks update, Linda's got a bunch of notes in her email, and one of the first item she wanted me to go over was the Little Hunting Creek Park expansion, or potential Little Hunting Creek Park expansion, with the playground and the pathways and the gazebo, so right next to City Hall. Part of that is the council will be voting on whether to apply for the grant, which is the 50-50 matching grant, at this coming council meeting, so the 19 April meeting. And we'll be doing that via, there's a resolution inside the grant that you hold in reserves 50%, so that's your matching piece. So that will come up for discussion. One of the highlights that has happened since the last time that we talked at the Parks meeting was at the request of the mayor, HOA residents have been asked their feedback. So see if there's, outside of all of us who have talked about a playground, are there other people out there in the community who want that same idea? And there were 75 responses that were in support. So in essence, 75 yeses, 7 of those, or 7 more, were no's, and 2 people were indifferent. So 75 yes, 7 no, and 2 indifferent. So that's quite a bit of good feedback, and it seems like there's support out there. A piece that has been brought up in hopes for us to talk about today and nail something down is the safety of having the playground there with US 42. And so what we had talked about originally, and Ron, if you don't mind bringing up the drawing that is the more zoomed in one, I guess it's the 60-foot scale. We had talked about having there's a 4-board black fence that's along US 42 already. And then there's the original proposed 4-board fence around the playground itself to create basically like a tot lot. A couple other things have been modified since the last time we talked about. So these are 2 dimensions you can sort of keep in mind as to get your all's good ideas for some extra safety measures. It's about 150 feet from where the playground is up to where you could get to US 42. And then it's 65 feet is there that from the playground over to basically where Milestone thinks thereabout in that region is where the expanded parking lot would go. And Ron, if you don't mind going to it's that same picture, just remove the 65 feet and 150 feet. And while he does that, one thing that you may notice in this drawing is for the safety piece, to keep the playground as far away from US 42 as possible. One thing that we originally had in there, thank you, Ron. One thing we originally had in there was swings. Because of the floodplain, we can really only keep the playground where it's at, and the swings would have, if you're looking at the picture, would have basically been just to the left of the playground. So basically the playground structure, the swings, and then up to 42. So the swings have been removed completely, again, to increase the distance between 42. There's some benches set inside the playground with one right next to where the gate is. The gate is on the south side there, where that gray pathway is. And then a bench along the pathway that would go to the gazebo. So again, kind of preset places to where parents could sit and view the kids and make sure that they're not going to head up to 42. The black line, again, around the playground is a 4-board fence. And then the black line along US 42, that's the already in place 4-board fence. So for us to talk about, David Holmes had a good idea as things to add, and I'd like to open it up for any other additions. David, can you hear me? And Ron, if you want to bring up his picture, his idea was to put along US 42, that 4-board fence, some of these giant hedgerow shrubs, and he took a good picture of what already exists out there now. It's close to the Fox Harbor side. And if Ron's able to get that up, I'll let David talk to that. And I think it would work really well for the site.
Hey, Sarah, can I ask a question while you're trying to find the picture?
Yes.
So is the concern about a kid getting on 42, or is the concern about a car coming through the fence and hitting the playground?
I think to my knowledge, the concern is a kid, since we'll be increasing the presence of children, getting up onto US 42.
Okay.
David, can you hear me okay? Are you able to take yourself off mute if you wanted to chat to this? He may not be able to. We spoke on the phone. So this is a picture. It's close to the Fox Harbor side that's already out there. You obviously can't buy a shrub this large. But he was able to find that they sell ones that are basically in that 3 to 4 foot category that still can be placed together so that at least small children, wouldn't be able to kind of get through that. And as they would continue to grow, I think it would provide some it would kind of collect a little air pollution. It would provide, maybe a little bit of noise barrier, but also another physical sort of barrier between the fence. So that's an idea that's out there. Another idea would be putting more forward fencing. Those properties that are adjacent to Little Hunting Creek Park are kind of fenced in like horse parks. That forward is around the entire thing. So around the creek, all the way up to Fox Harbor and all the way back down. So I just wanted to open it up to you guys and see if you all had any extra concerns. I think Lee Tucci's on the call as well. So I was hoping to get kind of a forestation board kind of opinion, from that vegetation perspective. But if you guys have thoughts, I can bring up, or Ron can bring up whatever picture you got. Stuart, go ahead.
A question and a comment. The question is, and Ron would know this, is from looking at the map, it seems like that playground would that get washed away in one of the big floods? That's a question for Ron.
Oh, he's taking himself off mute here, I think.
Sorry, he was arguing with me. No, in 20 years, I have not seen that flood.
Okay, good. It's hard to tell on the picture exactly where that is. And then the comment suggestion is, and I've seen this done and it looks good, you can take what's called pig wire, and I think Ron knows what that is, and you can put that on a 4-board fence, and it will prevent. I had the idea about buying a property I looked at for keeping my dogs in a 4-board fence, and I'm not equating children to dogs, but it would probably work for children. Now, it's not going to keep a kid from climbing over a 4-board fence, but it would keep a kid from getting through a 4-board fence. And it looks good too, as long as you paint the wire black.
Black. Okay.
Sarah, I
Yes.
Actually, we're already on that. That was what was planned.
I did the same thing when I had a 4-board fence around my backyard. I don't anymore, but I put welded wire lining inside to keep the dogs from going under it, going through it. Worked real well.
That
Well-
will definitely go ahead, Carolyn, go ahead.
Okay, whether we use the wire or not, I think the hedgerow is a great idea. I think it would, it would make a little more of a park-like atmosphere rather than have the view of the highway, for the parents and the children. And I think it would help to create a barrier. So I think that's an idea that should be pursued.
Okay.
And Sarah?
Yeah, Lynn.
Right behind my house, and I will send you guys info. We have one of these that was put in behind the Bridgepoint Swim Club probably 30 years ago. And what happens over there, most of the kids, the small kids, mom and dad, or mom is always with them. It's also become a social meeting area, right? So you want to have several picnic tables, mom meet other moms, they talk and all of that. And the other thing too is small kids. I would have whatever fence you're going to have around it large enough that if something happens, mom doesn't have to be on a picnic table. I'd come running around to find the entrance. She can go directly from the picnic table right to the play area. And the kids but I've never seen the kids go a great distance at all. They're there to be right there. Mom's probably 30 feet away, 40 feet at most, or dad. People come over, they stay there for maybe an hour or so, but ours is used all of the time. And again, having, tables of seats should be inside that fenced area where they have direct access to their kids. All the time, 4 or 5-year-olds fall off, they fall a foot or two and that kind of stuff. And mom needs to get there pretty quick. And so we might want to think about doing that. But ours is used constantly. Whenever it's pretty weather, kids are over there, and little guys.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the 11, 12, 13-year-olds. You see the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds.
Okay.
Well, and also I have some concern about not having a contingency for adding swings at some point. It seems like, in most of the playgrounds I've visited with my granddaughter, the swings are one of the most popular aspects of the playground. And, I would hate to plan a playground that precluded the addition of swings if that's at all feasible. And
Yeah,
if not,
The one we have has a swinging tire setup, but it's off to the side because you want to be in an area where some little child would walk up while a bigger child swinging, walks into the swing and gets hit by the swing. So it's off maybe another 15 yards and so off to the side all by itself.
yeah.
And I'll get some photos to you guys by tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, there is room, Carolyn, to answer that. There is still the same footprint still exists to put the swings in, you know, potentially maybe in a future application or future. It's the ability for us to kind of move forward hinges a lot on being able to kind of address the safety concern, which is very legitimate. So that's my only concern with putting it in now, is that it may compromise, you know, the being able to do it, but the footprint still exists to be able to put that in for a future phase. But I'm going to write that down on here.
Sir, just a second. Guys, if you're not going to talk, turn your microphones off, please.
Now, Lee Tusi, I heard you speak a little bit ago, and I only heard it for a second. Lee, are you there?
Just had a comment. First of all, on the support for the facility, my wife Sanda reports that of 7 women in her book club, they have 6 visiting grandchildren that they take care of 1 day a week. And there are more than 7 grandmothers here in the city of Prospect that probably do some kind of child care babysitting so their parents can work or do errands or whatever. The second thing is regarding security or screening. That's a good idea. I've asked Andrea to take a look at the park and make her suggestions. But I will remark that when we lived back in Pennsylvania, we had the back of our property a continuous row of arborvitae that was totally a visual fence. It was really a physical fence. They had grown so close together, it was quite difficult to get through. Maybe a small child could crawl through the bottom or in the root area, but they just definitely provided some security and screening.
Thank you, Lee. Is that something, it sounds like, because I want to make sure that I kind of can nail a few things down. So obviously the council meeting's on Monday. So it sounds like the hedgerow, if I could get a little show of hands, if everybody's, you know, thinks that's a good idea. And Lee, I'm going to assume, yes, I can't see you. David, I know brought it up. Harold or Sally, I don't know if you guys have thoughts on the hedgerow, but I'd like to be able to write that down as a, you know, Lee, if we could get an estimate of a price. All these things can be put towards the grant, so 50% off, you know, if we got the grant. But Sally or Harold, do you guys have comments on the hedgerow?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, Sarah, a hedgerow would definitely help with the sound and definitely help with potential vehicle off the roadway.
Okay. Oh, good point. Does anybody have any thoughts on fencing the entire thing in like a horse park sort of scenario? Or does that seem excessive? I'm not sure.
I did have a question, and again, I haven't been to the site, and I don't know how close it is to the creek, but any concern about kids getting to the creek, little kids. So I don't know what the distance is and what have you.
Yeah, it's
Stuart, I've
pretty.
heard that concern expressed.
Say again?
I've heard that concern expressed.
I think so. It is to the water itself. It's almost, Ron, you'd have to, hold on. I've got the scale right here. Hold on.
50 foot.
50 feet. Yeah, I was going to say 50 or 60 feet.
But to the creek. But
yeah.
the playground's fenced in on that side too, so.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's the full fencing, but that is why I bring up, I don't think it would be out of character to do an extension of the fence along the creek side. Now, the only thing is for like kids do go there and fish, you know, but a lot of kids sometimes do that on the other side. And so Ron, I don't know what your thoughts are on doing a full kind of horse park. If I keep calling it that, that's just visually when I see those, that's not what it would be. But you know what I'm doing, the black fence along our existing parking, along the parking expansion, connecting it to the US 42, running it along the creek. And then whether you close off the Fox Harbor side or not, you know, with entrances like on 42 where they split the gate, you know, you walk around it. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Kind of excessive, I think, but I think it's actually going to make it look compartmentalized, for lack of a better
Smaller.
word.
Okay.
Uh,
Is everybody okay
we
with
can
for
do
the
it.
for the
That's,
yeah? Can I get anybody else's thoughts on that piece of it? The four-board running along the creek, or if people think the four-board just around the playground side with benches.
You know, the one we have has no benches around, I mean, no fence around it at all. And again, maybe the benches where mom can see, maybe just the fencing along the creek only. You may not need to. The biggest thing is mom wants to have her kids and have quick access to her kids. And I think it's mom and whoever kids keep an eye on the entire time. I mean, you don't keep out of eye shot, but anyway, I'll send you some photos of ours. You can see what we've got set up, and I'm not aware of any of the issues, and ours is not fenced at all.
Okay. Okay.
so another consideration too is up on the upper end, closer to Fox Harbor. That's a flood area, so
Mhm.
A
you're
little
gonna have
worse for the other.
you're gonna have a high current coming through, probably about
Okay.
40, 50 yards of that. So
Okay. So things I've got written down are the painted black pig wire on the four-board fence around the playground, the hedgerow along 42. Does anybody, before we close shop on that, does anybody have any other safety or anything that you want to chat about now while everybody's here? Yeah.
I think, and I didn't realize it was going to have a fence around it. So I think if it had a fence around it, and if the gate, if you were going to do a fence and a hedge along 42, and if you had the entrance on that 42 side, and then you had where the parents were sitting around the entrance, then I don't think you would need, I do think then it would be excessive to have another gate. Because at that point, if your kid gets out, that's on you, right?
Okay. Okay.
But I do have a question about lighting. Is there going to be lighting,
Yes.
or is this going to be daytime only, or?
So, and I'll let Ron jump into, right now it's slated to be like the rest of our parks where it closes at dusk. There was
Dawn-
thought that in
dawn to
a
dusk.
future time, yeah, and at a future time, depending if that gazebo morphs into anything different, that electric, you know, being run out there, outlets, and to be able to expand that. But I and Ron jump in, but I know when our small group met, it was more about trying to get the baseline of what we could in there and get a feel for, confirm that that's how it gets used and everybody's comfortable with it, and then, you know, add on. So there was not an addition of lights based on it only being open during the day.
And odds are too, the age group that we're directing this at, it's not going to be up after dark anyway.
Yes, sir.
Is the gazebo going to be part of the grant or just the playground?
So the gazebo, the walking paths, and the playground, plus any vegetation and fencing we just talked about, are all part of the grant. You do get, for everyone's information, you do get 3 years to spend the money if you're awarded the grant. So none of these are, it's got to go in right now. You have 3 years to be able to work that out.
Given the cost of running the electricity, I would include that in the grant and you know, get the electricity run to the gazebo, you know, because that's going to have to be buried and that can be quite expensive.
Okay.
The other, I would assume too, we could put the playground in place and not put any kind of fence in the proper way, and then kind of look at it and get a feel for it. Do we need it? And exactly where do we need it?
Yes, and there's that option. Did anybody else say something? Sorry, was that Lynn? Did I cut you off at the end? Okay. Does anybody have any else? The reason I'm saying it is before I move on to the rest of the list, for like the ICF update is Linda was hoping to be able to take, I'm trying to look at her vernacular, to take a vote in support of the playground proposal, and the council moving forward with applying for the grant. I don't know if I phrased that well enough. For us to take a vote that we support the initiative and moving forward to apply with the grant. So if anybody has anything else they want to tweak or throw out there for safety or otherwise, jump out now. And then if not, if you guys are okay with it, if I could get, if someone wants to bring that as a motion, I know Linda never does it herself, so I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, as a motion to take a vote as a Parks Committee that you know, whether we do or do not support, to be able to pass that recommendation on to the council.
I move that we support the initiative to build the playground as proposed and that we submit the grant for the 50-50 match.
And is there a second for that?
I second it.
Thanks, Sally. And then all in favor?
Aye.
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 And then all opposed? Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I think that was it for the playground update. For the rest of the park updates, ICF, so that's the name of the new name for that company that is hired to do the invasive plant removals. They have been removing this week again the woody invasive plants, honeysuckle and tree of heaven in Harrods Creek Park. They have started the preliminary work on the Putney Pond study, and I've seen several emails from Linda back and forth with them as they've been moving along. Jacqueline McGrail, which I think a lot of people know, she and Linda went out and they did spray the poison hemlock along the Orange Trail at Harrods Creek Park. And they did it from the parking lot to the first graveled portion of the trail. And they're going to go back out later to spray the rest of that area. If anybody's interested, I know they tend to normally do it. Sally, I'm not sure if that's something you normally jump onto or not, but if anyone's interested, let Linda know. It sounds like they're going to head out there later in the week, but it is chemical based. So that's not a take your kid.
Thursday at 10 is when they're talking about meeting.
Thursday at 10. Thank you, Ron. Are there any takers for that? Just to let Linda know.
I am not a big fan of chemicals, so I stay away from that.
Okay, guys, sorry, Sally. I had you as the op. I apologize there. that was not to tag you with it.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You said something about the Putney Pond study. Could you give us any more detail on that?
I do not have any more detail on that. If Linda may be listening and she might send me a message potentially to give you more info, I apologize. I do not personally have that info. Ron, did she? I don't know if she sent you anything extra. No.
I would like to get more detail on what it is that they've done and what they still plan to do.
Okay.
We're spending a pretty good chunk of money on that, and I'd like to get educated.
Okay. I have that written down. Ron did awesome work on updating the bird brochure. Pat yourself on the back. Did you want to show it? That's impromptu, so now he looks panicked. You don't have to. It looks awesome. He managed to shrink down. I think it is something the city had, and he managed to shrink it down. And it has all the birds that there was a couple that would go all the time in the parks. They annotated the cons they were, where they'd see them, what they look like, all of that. Ron managed to shrink it down, and it will get put into the kiosks. Did you want to say anything else about it, Ron?
Trying to find it.
You holler when you got it, and I'll stop talking. The next piece of that is Linda has been in touch with Earthbound Landscape, who are the people who normally do the gravel work for us, about scheduling the Orange Trail work. They were going to do it this week, except all that rain that happened. So they're going to schedule it soon, though, but they just need everything to dry back out again. Okay, some outstanding items that are left for the parks. There are 3 of the older kiosks, and I'm assuming that's like the Putney Pond kiosks, the one maybe in Fox Harbor. And Ron, I don't know if you know the third one that need to be basically cleaned up. They need to have kind of new maps, the rules, bird brochures, posted, stuff that Ron can provide, I'm sure, but kind of a labor piece to go out and do that. Does anyone have any interest in volunteering, maybe to go out on a nice day and clean those kiosks up, take out, they have all the old faded maps in them, get those kind of sorted.
Whoever does it, watch out for wasps.
Oh, that's a good point.
I don't
Gonna
mind
be
doing it. Sorry, I keep trying to hit the unmute and it's not working.
No, you're fine, Sally. Okay. Okay, I've got you down. I don't know if she had any timeline or dates or anything like that, and I'm happy to go out there as well. Maybe take some hot shot, I guess. Not around you, Sally, but I just
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Can I make one comment? Ron, I'm supposed to do a brochure on the wildflowers, and since you've got some brochure experience now, can you help me, you think, on that?
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
I got too many buttons going on here.
Okay.
Yeah, I
get-
sure can. We can
Okay. I'll get with you on that then.
Okay, I've got that written down. Thanks, Sally. And then the next item was, is anyone interested in working on selecting some bluebird boxes and identifying locations along the Orange Trail and working with Ron on being able to put those out? Now, Lynn, I'm not sure if that was, I don't think this was, oh, perfect. So Ron managed to get this shrunk down. It's going to fit in the kiosk, and it's got all kinds of stuff for the different season you're in. And this would be a cool thing to pair with the wildflower brochure when that Sally's talking about, so that when people go out there and you can kind of hunt for whichever item, obviously seasonally dependent, but Ron put a lot of work in that, so he managed to get that all shrunk down. Anybody have any comments on this one while it's up?
That looks great, Ron. Solid work.
Really good.
Oh,
Looks super.
Thank you very nice.
Very nice, very nice.
It's a very,
Yeah, so
very
the,
important omission. There's no mockingbird on here.
Oh, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. The picture's just not
No,
there.
it isn't. No, it isn't.
uh-oh. All right,
Well,
Ron.
not a picture. Now, there might be.
I see mockingbird
Right
next
there.
to the kingfisher. The
Oh,
kingfisher.
there we go. There we go. Good eyes. Stuart with the good eyes. The bluebird boxes for the Orange Trail, I know that I think the genesis of that was kind of from the conversations about Mr. Aaron's donation as a bird watcher. So kind of facilitate some of this, give a spot to where birds can go and give someone an ability to go stand and actually watch in that area. I think it's by the clearing is where bluebirds likes to go. So on the Orange Trail. So if anybody has any interest in, helping select those, I think she was thinking about commercially buying those, but ID locations. And then Linda has some information from the North American Bluebird Association, but a little bit more research needs to be done. So I'm not sure if anyone is an avid birder in the group or if someone just has an interest in helping Linda with that project.
So I have 2 bluebird houses in my backyard. Well, actually I have one and I'm about to put up a second one. Unfortunately, the gentleman who built them is no longer with us. But since I haven't put up the second one, I mean, if we wanted to, he built these himself there, and I have renters nonstop with bluebirds out there. So
Wow.
they're highly successful. I just have them on like a rebarb type of thing in my backyard because I have an open space that they really like. And I've never had any problems. I only put it up last year, but I haven't had any problems with the raccoons or anything because it's kind of out in the middle where they can't get to it. So I don't know if the box is something we want to take a look at because it's pretty simple, but they seem to like the design. If that's something that the scouts might take on as a project, I don't know. So I decided.
I know. Yeah, no, that's awesome, Sally. I know at a minimum, if you wouldn't mind taking a couple pictures
Yeah.
of them. And I wonder if Ron, even at that, if we could take a peek and see, what are we talking about here? That does lend nicely into kind of the Scouts update. But Lynn, I don't know, if I think that's come up before, the Bluebird box type stuff, but and I don't know the timeline necessarily. But Sally, thank you for mentioning that, because I think part of it was to be able to find something that would work.
Hey Sarah, it's Harold.
Yeah.
If somebody's got some plans for those Bluebird boxes, I'm sure I can build them. I'm sure they're very simple. So if the
Okay.
Scouts are not able to, or can't, or don't want to, that might be too simple of a project for them, or they're not available, whatever. But that's something I could probably find to do in a spare time.
That's awesome.
If somebody's got some plans or a couple detailed pictures.
Okay, Sally, is that something that when you get your pictures, if you could send them to both Ron and Harold, and then maybe
Yeah,
they
or
could chat?
Or I can meet up with Harold and he can look at it in person if he wants to. And he's right up the street from me. He's not too far. So
Yeah.
whatever works best.
For a scout
Yeah,
project, one would be too small, but you'd build multiple boxes. That would not be a scout project.
Okay. Well, how about Harold and
Perfect.
Sally? If it's okay, how about you guys take a peek, and then we can check with Lynn and see the timeline. And if it's like, hey, Scouts won't be ready for a while, you check with Linda, and okay, Harold, if you're like, you've got a spare weekend and you want to put, throw some time at that, then that would work.
Sally, just send me a text sometime when you're available, and I'll swing by.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sally,
Okay.
can you send us all a picture of the boxes and how you have them mounted in your yard?
Sure.
If it's super simple, it might be something cool to put out to the community too, as a, I don't know. Once Harold builds them, he might be like, maybe not, but I don't know, if they're simple, that might be a pretty cool
They
thing
look
to-
super simple, but I didn't make them. So,
Yeah. Right.
Sarah, that's actually a really good idea. I'm sure there's some handy people that probably
Yeah.
have a lot more time than I do that would love
Yeah.
to do something like that have a bunch of woodworking stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just have to send out kind of some detailed plans so we know what we're expecting from people.
Very true. Yes. Okay. I've got it written down. Lynn, do you have anything you want to chat about for the Scouts?
Right now, we still have not returned to open meetings yet, so we are doing some camping. Our program will be in person this year, so we're hoping for, in a few more months, we'll be back to all as normal. But since we're not meeting, I don't get to see kids much talk about Eagle projects. I have quite a few kids coming through that have finished projects that are earning Eagle rank. But give us another month or two, and hopefully we'll have a lot of kids out there in their green and khaki uniforms doing good community service.
Awesome. Well, it's good to hear they're getting back in the swing of things. Okay, let me see what else we've got on the agenda here. Okay, so let's finish up in less than 15 minutes here. So the other item she's got in here is planning for the future of the parks, goals for 2021, and long range goals. So I'm prepared to jot down whatever we've got. I don't have, I'm not sure if she had a framework. I know we've talked about the future of the parks, like to-do list long, but does anybody have any for 2021? So the year we're in now, that they're obviously hopeful to get done, or that you'd like to add that we haven't talked about before. I know we talked about the wildflower stuff. We've talked about the birding, that those seem kind of in the works. We'll see what happens with the budget. Obviously that'll happen, June timeframe. Does anybody have anything? All right, and then no, go ahead. Was that Sally?
The only thing I can think of is that I'm hoping next year that we can go back to doing the wildflower walks. That we can go back to doing some of the stuff that we do that we've done in person in the past. And I don't know if it's something we talked about before, but if we ever wanted to do like a guided tour, I walk down there all the time, and now, when I say all the time, I'm talking about Heritage Creek Park. And I personally, I did send a text to Linda earlier. This year, to me, is the most outstanding year for wildflowers. If anyone hasn't been out on the blue, the green to the red, they are it's like carpet this year. It's amazing. And so just to have, if people aren't getting out and they're just kind of nervous about doing it by themselves, I think trying to do some guided tours would be a way maybe to get more people out too.
Yeah, and I guess we're probably it's too early for the pandemic and too far into the wildflower season to be able to facilitate that probably now, right?
I don't know if we're too far into the wildfire season yet. I mean, it's
Okay.
still pretty strong, but it just is. I mean, I've got one shot down, but I'm not just second, and I won't have that till the end of April. So, you know,
Yeah,
standpoint.
yeah. Okay, I've got it written down. Perfect, thanks. And then she's got in here long range. I'm not sure if she was going to circle back around to kind of finishing going up through that list, but I know she asked for kind of feedback from everybody via email. But if anybody has anything they want to shout out now, and just for me to kind of annotate and then, you know, follow up with, to be honest, again, the later meeting or via email, some long range goals outside of maybe that project list that we had put together.
I mean, for me, I think I need to think on it a little bit. I hadn't really prepared anything for this meeting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's I was just making sure I was quiet long enough. If anybody's struggling with an unmute, I wanted to give fair opportunity to be able to do that. Okay, that covers, I believe, all of the notes that Linda has left me. Is there anything besides chatting about the next meeting date and time? Is there anything anybody wants to cover before we close up shop?
Do you know
Yeah,
when we're going
Stuart.
to start meeting in person again?
You know, Harold,
Uh,
I don't know. I will write it down as a question, though. I am not sure.
I was
Okay.
thinking even the picnic tables down at the park would be cool.
Down at yeah, Harrods Creek. There's several in-person meetings, and I guess part of that is actually asking everybody if it were, you know, if we could do a nice day. That obviously is a little bit of, you know, foresight. You don't have to send the meeting notices out too terribly early, but if it were a nice day and we were able to go do the picnic tables, is there, I'll just do in the affirmative, would a show of hands if you'd feel okay doing that? And it's perfectly fine if it's not, but I just want to, does that seem like an okay idea? It's okay if people are not?
Yes. To me.
Oh, Carolyn's saying something, but, oh, Carolyn, you're on mute, sorry.
I was going to say, I would be okay with that as long as everyone that attended the meeting had been vaccinated. Otherwise, I would not be.
Okay. I've got that written down. And then, you know, the other limiting factors, obviously we'd have to have kind of room for, I don't know how, all the parks meetings I've been at, I don't know that there's been like a guest who's come to them or something. But I guess we'd have to make sure we have an ability, since it's a public meeting, to have a space. And Carolyn, that kind of highlights that. Okay, I've got it written down. I'll pass that info on to her. Stuart, you had something you wanted to say, I think, right?
Yeah, so I took some new neighbors of mine in the Highlands to the park Friday, and they just went on and on about the wildflowers in the park, and the wildflowers are just, they've never been better than what I saw this weekend. But Ron, I do want to bring to your attention that on the Blue Trail between mile marker 2 and 3, there's that little plank bridge I made. It was a temporary little bridge I made. It is almost completely underwashed, or whatever the proper term is. You know what I'm talking about?
We're aware of it.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep, got plans for a new one.
But the park looks great. It looked just fantastic.
Awesome. It's been great weather for it. Okay, so Linda's got on here a recommendation for the next meeting on May 17th, which is I wonder if, nope, May 10th. May 10th at 5 p.m. May 10th is a Monday. And thank you, Harriet Eberly. She is watching and has sent me something on bluebirds, and I don't have a chance to read it, but I will send it out. She is watching this and sent some feedback on that. So I'll take a peek and send it to you guys, depending on what it is. May 10th at 5 p.m.
I don't think I'll be able to make that.
Okay. Does anybody, she's happy for a different day, or does is everybody else? Lynn's shaking his head, but you're on mute, Lynn. Okay. Okay, never mind. It was the reverse. Lynn's
Read my
good.
cap-
No, you're okay. Carolyn,
Yes.
Harold, are you still there?
I am. I'm sorry. I am driving, so I'm in and out.
No. Oh, what? You drive. Are Mondays in general good for you though? Sally, I think, does that?
Yes, that works for me.
Okay. Stuart, I know you can't come. I'm gonna without saying what the next meeting date is, I'm gonna give her their availability. Do you have days and times that work better for you in general? 5 p.m.
Well,
we're
I
shooting
just-
for.
It's just, I'm going to be out of town at a research project, so.
Okay, but otherwise the 5 p.m. stuff works. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. That was the part I know we want to try to keep. I'm going to relay that. So if you all don't mind, I'll have Linda correspond via email to firm up the next meeting if that's okay with everybody. Is that okay? But before the next council meeting, and that one's on May 17th. All right. Any other closing points before we head out of here? Get some food. Okay, I
It's
guess.
it's nice to be back joining you guys.
Yeah, thank you,
Look
sir.
forward
It's
to
good to
doing
see
it
Good
you.
to
in
have you.
Oh, good to see you. Okay, well, check your emails for when the next meeting will be. Probably give Linda a couple days to get all caught up. And if anyone makes to make a motion to adjourn, we shall.
Let's adjourn.
Motion. Second.
Okay, there we go. And I heard seconds. Okay, well, it was a pleasure seeing you all. Thank you for humoring me and filling in for her. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you.